I got to say, when I first picked these up, it reminded me of being an altar boy when I was a kid. Any altar boys here? You'll know that. There you go. I'm going to talk. Well, let's talk about spiritual insights and spiritual direction. And often when we get spiritual insights or we're given spiritual direction, it sounds crazy. You ever heard of turn the other cheek? Really? Oh, okay. That doesn't make sense to my logical mind. Or forgive those who persecute you. Pray for those who persecute you. If back in the day, a Roman soldier could come up to you and say, I want you to carry my pack for a mile. And Jesus said, if that happens to you, carry it 2 miles. That doesn't make any sense. Spiritual direction, guidance, what is this? It goes so much against our typical human logic. But there's so much insight to be gained from taking the spiritual direction. If you're compelled to do something and you do something more, that just changed the whole dynamic of that interaction. That soldier was putting something on you and telling you this is what you had to do. And now you're saying, okay, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do more. It is feedbacking a little. So again, spiritual guidance can be crazy. So hence the title of my talk today, Enjoy Your Problems. In fact, that was a quote from a Zen master, Shunryu Suzuki. Enjoy your problems. Again, that sounds kind of crazy. What a radical idea, but also a life-changing idea. I remember back in 2001, I had left the corporate world and was going for whatever the next thing was going to be. I didn't know at that moment it was going to end up being ministry. But my wife at the time, she ended up getting laid off. And so all of a sudden, neither of us were working, and we felt, oof, this is a problem. Then September 11th happened the next day. Problems are relative. What was a big problem the day before paled in comparison to that. How many of our problems were really problems, and then something else comes up and we find out it wasn't such a big problem after all? One of my best friends, we were on the board together at Unity Village, she was 43 years old, had a 14-year-old daughter, and having the same challenges that every mother and daughter have around those around the teen years. And she saw those as problems, and okay, I hear you. And then she got diagnosed with cancer. And then that problem went away. Didn't even think it was a problem anymore. A couple of years later, I was hiking the Camino in Spain, Camino de Santiago, and I'm hiking there, and I get to the point where I have to come home early, which is an extreme disappointment. I thought it was a problem. But when I came home, I found out that my friend, her name was Jennifer, was in the final stages of dying. And so I flew right out to Unity Village where she was, and we had a wonderful time together. It was the last day that she could communicate. And it was a wonderful sharing. So the problem was that I had to leave the Camino. Now that was a blessing, because then I got to come home and be with one of my best friends as she was dying. Changed the whole thing. When I was working in Europe many years ago, I found a lump on my body and never saw that before. And so I called my doctor back in the United States, and my doctor said, well, you have to come in for an ultrasound. Like, okay. I still to this day remember when he said that, why me? But that was a prayer, because in that moment, the answer came to me, why not me? Why not me? I'm like, happens to things happen. Would I think I'd get through this whole world and not not die or not be sick or whatever. But in that moment of saying, well, why not me? I was able to release it. In fact, it brought me joy because it caused me to sit down and reflect about all the good things that had happened to me in my life up to that point. I traveled the world. I lived in different places. I had so many wonderful experiences that I was able to just take it on. Instead of being all about getting the next experience, I was able to fully appreciate all the good that I've been given. And thinking, I don't know what's going to happen, and maybe this will be the end. But if it is, I'm going to go out with joy for what I've been able to experience up until now. So I had to wait 6 weeks to get back to the United States. And I could have spent that 6 weeks in fear, in anxiety, in worry. I didn't. I had joy. I remember going to get the ultrasound, and the person who does it says, wow, you're so happy. And I said, yes, I choose to be happy. And I choose to go through this experience and see what it's going to be. And it all turned out to be okay. Doctor said, keep an eye on it. I'm like, only a joyful eye. That's been many, many years ago. My father had Parkinson's. He was on the decline, and he was living in Colorado. And so I didn't see him every day or anything, but every 2 or 3 months I'd be out there. And I remember at one point I went out there, and he had taken a steep decline. He couldn't always make it to the bathroom. I had to help him go to the bathroom. And I was like, I was shocked. I was sad because that hadn't been the experience a couple of months before. And it was unnerving. But what I saw as problems before paled in comparison with what was going on with him right now. And my mom gave me the greatest bit of advice. She said, she taught me in that moment, it's difficult, yes, but today is the best it's going to be. It's just going to get worse. And we may look back and say, I wish we had more time when he was at this stage. And to be joyful in that moment. That was the greatest advice I'd ever gotten around illness. I'm glad to share it with you today. That no matter what's going on, celebrate it now, because we know sometimes on the decline, it's just going to get worse, and we knew it was going to get worse for him with that diagnosis. A friend of mine who went through a different seminary, she had a good friend of hers that went out and volunteered with Mother Teresa in Calcutta in the slums. And one of the things that they would do is they would go and they'd move the dead bodies. They'd collect the dead bodies and they'd bring them. And my friend's friend, of course, was like, this is like the grossest thing I've ever done. And, you could tell she was totally uncomfortable. And Mother Teresa said this to her, if you can't find the joy, go home. She stayed and found the joy in it because it's available. It's whether or not we're going to lay claim to it. So right now, in this moment, you may be facing a financial issue, a relationship issue, a health problem. I would speculate we've all faced all of these issues to different degrees, and sometimes all at the same time. Can I get an amen to that? When that happens, many people say they no longer believe in God because they're facing problems. I want to talk a little bit about that word God and give us a different way to be with it, because it's a loaded term. We've all grown up with different constructs built around this term. It's a man sitting on a throne, giving orders, just all kinds of things, and they're not always good. So let's kind of get away from that. How do we get away from that construct that we've been given? Let's use another term for God. Just today, I invite you to use this term for God Because God isn't male or female. God is energy. God has, female aspects and male aspects, but God is energy. So let's call God life. How many people love life? I love life. Yes. No matter what's happening, life. But it takes away all those other constructs about God. Good, bad, and indifferent. Life. Let's lay claim to that. In Matthew chapter 19, verse 17, it says, "Why do you ask me about what is good?" Jesus replied, "There is only one who is good. If you want to enter life, obey the commandments." Enter life. I'm sure we've all heard this one in Matthew chapter 13, verse 14. "Enter through the narrow gate, for the wide gate is broad, and the road leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." It's one of those things I learned in the seminary is you read something, you read it again, and you find something that you didn't see before. And the word life just jumps out. And so to me, yes, I want to embrace that life energy. I love life. I get upset with life when it doesn't fit into my plan. It can be a roller coaster. Now, some people I've known throughout the years, I've been with many people as they've made their transition or coming to that time in life. And you can love life right up to the end of the physical life. I had a woman named Jean Poley, this spiritual woman, and I remember sitting with her, and she was dying. And I was heartbroken because she was a good friend of mine. But she said, "You know what? I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming next." I'm really curious. I want to know. I know it's going to be good, but I'm looking forward and I'm not afraid. In fact, after she made her transition, the day she made her transition, I was out for a run, and right in the middle of my run, I stopped cold. I had a vision of her putting on a little hat, stepping out of the hospital room, waving goodbye. I come home, the phone rings, I pick it up, and I said, "You're calling to tell me Jean Poley died." They're like, "Oh, did somebody else get in touch with you?" And I said, "Yes, Jean did." You want to have a good death? Have a good life. Live a good life. Love life. And you'll just see, this is just another chapter of life that we're all going to face at one point or another. Shunryu Suzuki said this, one of my all-time favorite quotes, puts everything in perspective. But before I say that, I want to say, what makes physical life so precious? It's limited. He said this, "Life is like stepping onto a boat which is about to sail out to sea and sink." That says it all, right? That just really wraps it. I never thought of that. So let's enjoy getting on the boat. Let's go in for the sail, and when the time comes, we can enjoy the transition as well. It's a choice that we get to make. We don't have problems. We have life unfolding. That's all we have. Life is just unfolding. We don't have problems. Is there a place we can go where there are no problems? Well, it's not a place, but it's a state of consciousness. And when we enter into that state of consciousness, we are the one that's in control of the rest of our life experience, let it be 100 years more or 1 year more, a month more, whatever, that we get to make that decision. So if we're going to love life, then we have to love it all. The sunshine and the shadows. Our standard practice when things don't go the way we feel life should is to have worry and fear and anxiety. When we're not loving life, we're fighting against life. How much time have we wasted fighting against what is? Let us waste no more time. Because when we get into that consciousness of enjoying our problems, we can see that that problem is just a catalyst for our evolution. Because we defined it as a problem. So, okay, well, how can I work through this? How am I going to grow through this? Because we can either go through it or we can grow through it. It's a choice that we get to make. I love life, not just the parts that I agree with. Because when we do, we're in a state of evolution. We choose to embrace, we're in an evolution, no matter what it is. Like, okay, this has presented itself. What's here for me to learn? What's here for me? How can I evolve through this where I no longer see this as an issue? Or we can choose to be in a state of revolution, about revolting against life's unfoldment. Evolution or revolution? Guess who wins that battle? Let's move toward embracing whatever it is and evolving through it. Now, this is not about denying pain. It's about denying suffering. There's a spiritual master in India, and he was dying, and he's screaming and yelling, and his people that are following him are like, oh my, he's a spiritual master. How could he be, having all this pain and everything is going on? And they went and asked him. He said, there's pain, but there's no suffering. There's a big difference between acknowledging pain and dealing with pain and turning it into suffering. Let's embrace what comes up. Let's get away from the fear and the anxiety. Let's not live in fear. There's times in our life we say, well, if I start crying, I won't be able to stop. That's not true. You will. But the best thing you can do is let it out. We can never heal what we're not willing to feel. So when feelings come up, okay, let's let them out. Let's give them space. Versus trying to cram it down and turning it into an ulcer or hypertension or who knows what else. It comes up, okay, I'm going to express it. I'm going to fully feel what I'm feeling. And that's the road to healing. Michael Singer, who wrote a number of wonderful books, said, in order for a problem to be a problem requires me to identify it as such. I can face something, and it's not going to be a problem for me. You may face it and say, oh, that's a horrible problem. That's the worst thing in the world can happen. So it's not the issue in and of itself. It's how are we going to show up to it? How are we going to define it? Are we going to say, wow, okay, this has brought up a lot of stuff for me. Maybe it's stuff I need to heal. Maybe it's childhood stuff, whatever. I'm going to evolve through this, and I'm going to heal it. Or I'm going to go to that place of denial. We don't live. It's not a good place to be in denial. It's not a good place into classifying everything as problems, classifying, oh, everything would be fine if everyone else changed, right? That's not how life works. We can change, where if we don't see it as a problem, it no longer exists as a problem. It is just life unfolding, something we can embrace. The spiritual life is not for the faint of heart. Number one thing we can do is feel confidence in our ability to handle any situation or circumstance. I'm going to feel confident in my ability to handle whatever comes up. Number two, feel support from the unseen. Know that you never need to cope alone, that life is unfolding for us. Life is not against us. Life is here flowing through us. Number three, see the universe as friendly. It's friendly. We're not in opposition to the universe. We're not in opposition to life unless we choose to go through life like that. But if we see the universe as friendly, we're able to meet and greet any situation or circumstance with that knowledge. Again, the things are coming up for me to grow through versus to just have to go through. And feel immersed in love, regardless of any situation or circumstance. We can go into that present moment. It's like in the meditation, and we can be there and we can affirm love. I'm in love. I'm not just love. Love isn't just what happens between me and somebody else. It's be immersed in love. And when we're immersed in love, we cannot help but love life. I invite you to join me in this affirmation. And the affirmation is, I love life. Ready? And so it is. Amen. Thank you.